So in this video, we're going to be seeing the sewing process of this beautiful box top with scam collar. Please, if you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and please subscribe to my channel. Thank you. So these are the fabrics I'll be using. I'll be using this white one for the back and one side of the front, and this brown one for one side of the front and the collar. So let's cut. So I've gone ahead to cut out my fabric with my pattern, the pattern that we just drafted. So my back facing, I cut it out with the white fabric. My front facing, I cut it out with the cotton color fabric. You can see I used my, so my front panel, I cut one side of the front with the cotton color fabric, and I left half of an inch at that front part because I'm going to be joining the facing to it. I also left half of an inch at the facing because I'm going to be joining it to the front. So my back, I used my white fabric to cut out my back, and my back is on fold. So this is the other side of my front panel. I told you guys that one side would be white and the other side would be brown. So this is the other side of the front panel. So I cut out a pocket for it with a black fabric. So the length of my pocket is 8.5 inches, while the width of the pocket is 6.5 inches. So we're done with the cutting. Let's start stitching. So this is my front pocket. So I'll mark out the back of the fabric. So I'm going to iron it half inch in and another half inch. I'll fold half inch in another half inch. At the sides, I'll fold in half inch at the two sides. So at that top part, I'm going to be using my hemming gum to iron it because I don't want my thread to show at the front side of the fabric. So I'll be using my hemming gum to hem it down. I'll iron it like that, then iron my sides. So I've gone ahead to iron my pocket. You can see how it looks. So you can see that the front part, there's no thread line showing. I used my hemming gum to iron it down. So I also ironed the sides so that it will be easier for me to sew down. So at the shoulder, I'm taking 9 inches downwards. That is where my pocket is going to start from. 9 inches from the shoulder. So from the center front, I'll be taking about 3.5 inches, I guess. So I'm just trying to arrange the pocket so it fits perfectly. So at that side, from the center front, I came in by 3.5 inches, then placed the pocket. Then from the shoulder, I came down by 9 inches, then I placed the pocket. So I'm going to be pinning this down, then I'll go to my machine and stitch it. So I've gone ahead to sew in my pocket. As you can see, I first of all sewed my side darts before fixing the pocket. So what I'll do with these other fronts now is to first of all sew my dart. So I'm going to fold it and take half of an inch, then I'll sew about 6 inches long. So I'll take half of an inch at the side and sew about 6 inches long. Then that is it. Then I'll sew that and show you how it looks. So I have gone ahead to cut out interfacing for my facing. both the front facing and the back facing. I cut out interfacing for it. So I'm using this lightest interfacing, which is the paper gum. They call it paper gum. That is what I'm using. So I'm going to share a trick with you on how I achieve a clean finishing for my facing anytime I'm sewing a facing. So I kind of like use the interfacing to turn the facing. So I don't know if that makes sense, but I will share the process with you. I'll show you how I do it. So this is the front part of my fabric facing up. So I'm going to use the smooth part of the interfacing to face the front side. That is, the rough part of the interfacing will be facing upwards. So I would go ahead and sew it with my sewing machine, then I'll turn it. And after I turn it, I will iron it. So I'll do that and show you. So I've gone ahead to sew my interfacing and my facing together, and I also notched. So the rough part of the interfacing is facing upwards. So I'll just turn it to the right side. So you can see how neat it looks. I also did the same thing for my front facing. The rough part of the facing is facing up. Then that's the front side of the fabric. Then I turned it to the other side and see how neat it looks. So even though you don't have an interlocking machine, you can do this. So I'll just go ahead and iron it. Iron all the facing, then I'll show you. So I've gone ahead to iron my facing. You can see how neat it looks on the outside. Looks very neat. Very neat. So this is one trick that I use whenever I'm sewing anything that has facing. I always use this trick, because even though you don't have an interlocking machine, it gives you that neat finishing that you want. So I'm just bringing out my back panel. And I also went ahead to iron my side dart. So I'm going to be joining the shoulder of my front and my back now. So that is what I'm going to be doing. I'm just placing the front panel on top of the back. Then I'll go to my sewing machine and sew it by half of an inch. Then I'll come back and show you how it looks. So I've gone ahead to join my shoulders, my back and front together. So I'm sorry, I didn't know I was recording out of the frame. So what I'm going to do now is attach my facing to my front panel. So I'm just going to get my front facing front. I'm going to just sew. I don't know if you guys can see it. Front facing front. I'll just sew like that on a straight line, like that. So I will do that for both sides of my front. That's the two pieces of my front. I'll take my facing and join it front facing front. I just sew it like that, and I'll do that and show you. So I've gone ahead to attach my facing to both sides of my front piece, and I also went ahead to give it a very nice press. You can see how it's looking clean. So what I'll be doing now is that I'll flip to face into the wrong side. Then I'll be sewing from from my center front to about 1.5 inches. So something happened on this video. I measured 3 inches, but I didn't use 3 inches because after sewing that 3 inches, I noticed it was way too big. It was way too big. So I came back and I loosened it and I used 1.5 inches. So please measure 1.5 inches. So I measured 1.5 inches on both sides of my neck, of my front neckline. I measured 1.5 inches and I sewed. From the start point, I sewed and stopped exactly at the 1.5 inches on both neckline. So I'll do that and I'll show you. So I've made a 1.5 inch stitch at the neckline, you can see. But like on this video, I've not corrected myself. So it's still 3 inches here, but yours is supposed to be shorter than that. So I flipped my top over to the wrong side. I'm going to be joining my front facing to my back facing. So I'm going to flip my top over to the wrong side and I'll fold the neckline into 2. I'm sorry, it's like I'm recording out of frame again. So from that point, that 1.5 inch point that we made, I'm going to measure the remaining neckline. That is, I'm going to measure the parts that I have not sewn. So I don't know if you understand, just watch me share. So I'm just measuring the neckline, the remaining neckline minus that 1.5 inch that we've already sewn. So what I have on fold, what I have is 8.5 inches. So we're going to be using this to cut our collar. So I just rule a straight line, just like a start point. Then I'll take that 8.5 inches that we have, but I'm adding ½ inch for seam allowance, that is 9 inches. And I'll just mark it there. Then at the folded edge, I'll take 5 inches. And this 5 inches is not a standard. You can make your collar as big and as small as you want. At the other edge, I took 3 inches. I think I lost some clip, then I just like connected 3 inches to the 5 inches, then I cut it out. So I'm going to cut this again. So yes, I ironed a stay to one side of the collar. Then I cut another collar identical to the first one that we made. This is going to serve as the lining to the actual collar. Then I'm just placing it right side facing each other now, and I'm going to fold equal. So at that curved part, that's the top part, the part that is curved, I'm measuring the 8.5 inches that we'll add, but I'm going to be adding ½ inch, that is, I'm measuring 9 inch at that top part. Then I'll just connect that. I think I lost the clip, so I did another one. So I'm just like, after cutting it, I recognize that I didn't video that part. So 9 inches, then I just slanted my hand down. Just gave it a little slant down. Then I cut the excess fabric out. I hope you understand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my sewing machine and sew the two sides by 1/2 inch and the straight part by 1/2 inch. So I'm done sewing it. You can see the two sides and the straight parts. We didn't sew the curve parts. So I'm just like trying to like cut out so that I'll have a sharp edge when I turn it over. So I'll turn it over now, then I'll go to my ironing board and give it a very nice press. So we are kind of done with our collar. We are done with our collar, and it's time to fix it to the main top. So we can see how the collar is looking. I've gone ahead to iron it, looking very neat. So it's time to fix it to the main top. So what I'm doing here is that sandwiching the collar. That means I'm placing the collar in between the top and the facing. So the collar is going to start immediately after that's our 1.5 inches stitch that we have already made. So the collar is just going to continue from there. So I'm just pinning it down. If you don't have time to pin, you can just stitch it like that. But like if you want to be careful, you can go ahead and pin it. So I'm just pinning it down. I'll do that off the camera. So I'm just checking. I'm trying to show you guys so that you guys will see that it corresponds. You can check yours too. If it does not correspond, no need to fright. You can just go and just adjust it. So I have stitched the collar to the top, and you can see how it's looking very neat, very clean. So this is one easy way to fix your collar. So I've not ironed it, but it's looking clean. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be trimming the rough edges. I'm going to be trimming that excess allowance because we don't want it to be bulky. So I'll be trimming the raw edges. So after trimming, I'm just going to snip it round so that to relax the neck a little bit. So after that, I'll push all my raw edges. I'll push it towards my facing, then I'll sew. So I'm pushing all my raw edges towards my facing, then I'll stitch it down on my facing. So I'm gonna to do that. You can see that I gave it, yeah, I stitch it on the facing, and you can see that it feels more relaxed. I've not ironed it, but it's looking more relaxed. So what I'll go ahead to do now is that I'll go ahead to join my side seam. So I'll join it by 1 inch because it's 1 inch allowance that I left. So join it by any allowance that you left. So I'm going to be joining the two sides by 1 inch. So we can see that I've gone ahead to iron my top. Ironing is very important for this type of top with collar. For this type of collar, ironing is very important. So I've also gone ahead to cut out my sleeve, and I used my hemming gum to hem the ends of the sleeve because I didn't want my thread to show at the right side. So I'll go ahead now and fix my sleeve. So after fixing my sleeve, we're basically done with this top. Just hem the ends of your top, and here we are done.